I don't know how to start this review. Malignant stars Annabelle Wallis and is about paralyzed fear from shocking visions. A woman's torment worsens as she discovers her waking dreams are terrifying realities. So I did see a trailer for this movie online. I've never seen a trailer for this movie in theaters. I never seen a commercial for this movie until tonight on Thursday Night Football. Like, literally, there was nothing advertising this movie. Now, I knew about it because I love James Wan. The Conjuring, to me, is a masterpiece, instant classic, if you ask me. And Insidious is a really underrated, appreciated horror classic that's going to build a couple years. But besides that, he's also Aquaman director and Furious 7. So James Wan knows variety of direction, and he's one of my favorite directors working. So he did say, I want to do a horror film in between Aquaman and Aquaman 2. And I'm like, hell yeah, but it's not Conjuring 3. So I'm guessing he chose this movie, which comes out this weekend on HBO Max and in theaters, and no one knows about this movie. Like, everyone I ask, public, I work in a movie theater, no one knows about this movie. And it's coming out in the theaters today, and it's on HBO Max right now. And I watched it, and my mind is blown, because this movie, it's so original and different that I respect the material for being so different and original. But holy shit, this movie's crazy. Beginning with the positives, James Wan, I mean, he was very creative in this movie. His camera work and his direction is just experimental. Like, it's just something I watched and I was like, I really appreciate what he's doing. And you know what? There's a lot of great camera work. I mean, my goodness, the cinematography, the movement of the camera, the atmosphere. I've always said in his horror films that he's directed, The Conjuring, primary example, his atmosphere, the colors, the shadows, the lighting is just perfect. This movie doubles that. It's amazing to look at, and my god, there is some amazing creepy imagery and no stupid jump scares. The scares are meant to be scary, and that is what James Wan is so good at, building the tension, building the atmosphere, and giving us characters enough to where we can care about them. I will say the characters in this movie, nowhere near as strong. They developed out the entire movie, so when the movie begins, you're kind of like, what's going on? But it's James Wan, so it's just like, boom, creative style of camera work, boom, creative style of camera work, and really weird dialogue. I mean, I can't think of another horror film with this kind of just plot line and what the movie goes through, and like, it definitely reminds me of like old 80s and 70s horror film, which I saw in an interview of James Wan. He said he wanted to experiment that kind of filmmaking from back then with the new technology they use, which you can definitely tell in a lot of scenes. There's some amazing just camera work that definitely reminds me of old horror films. Some scenes that kind of remind me of like Rosemary's Baby, maybe the original Exorcist. There's one scene in particular that really is filmed like a certain shot. Like, there's stuff in this movie that I'm like, all right, James Wan is completely making his style with this style, and I'm in love with it. It's really probably the best thing about this movie because it just brings a style to this movie and that original feel. Like I said, there's no other horror film I can compare this movie to. But some people are really gonna hate this movie. Like, I mean, people are downright going to make fun of this movie. This movie might have some great memes. I don't know yet. But I think for the general audience, people who are going to sneak in this movie theater and go watch this movie, I think are probably going to laugh and make fun of this humongous twist and this ending and what this movie turns into. I don't want to spoil anything, but this movie gets really gory, and I mean, James Wan goes for it. I mean, he takes everything he is just really good at and he puts everything in this screen. I mean, this movie kind of turns into an action scene in one particular scene that is completely horror gore mixed with the shootout action scenes, and sometimes the tonal shift is really just sticking right there in the middle of this movie. I'm like, what are we doing right now? And then there's some, like I said, awful, just B-rated movie dialogue in the like the opening scene, sprinkled a few times in this movie, mostly with the investigator characters. These investigators, their dialogue at some points were like, this is awful, and I'm like, I'm not buying it. And when it's like I said, leading to this ending and this twist, I mean, I figured out the twist due to a certain character's movement. I was like, is that? Is that gonna be that? And I figured it out. So, like I said, this movie is fucked up. It's super bloody, it's super entertaining, it's weird, but I really just appreciated how different this movie was. I was really entertained. There was one scene in particular that had my jaw dropped. I was like, this is fucked up, and I love it. This is a horror movie that might stick out to people that they love, and there's gonna be people out there who are gonna hate this movie. And you know what? I kind of agree in certain aspects of how you look at it, because when this movie comes out and people talk about it, I really, really want to know people's opinion. Do they hate this movie or really like it? But overall, for me, it's different, it's original, and I had a blast with it. I'm gonna give Malignant a B+. This is probably one of the most creative, just different horror films I have seen in a very, very long time, and it's done by one of my favorite directors. I think he put a lot of just creative experimental camera work in this movie, and I enjoyed like 82% of it. But again, leave a comment below. I really want to know your guys' opinion on this movie, because I do not know the reviews yet, because again, no one saw this movie. So go see Malignant if you want to. It's on HBO Max and in theaters. Hope you guys enjoy this movie review, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye, everyone.